a lot has been made. I've made a lot of the Cardinals having limited draft capital, only having 6 selections in the 2025 NFL draft. Reason being, it's the least amount of picks that Monty Ossenfort and the Cardinals have had since he took over as the general manager. So this is different. The things that you can extrapolate from a year where GM has 9 picks or last year where you're making double-digit picks, they don't necessarily apply. Those same things that you extrapolate, the takeaways that you have, they don't apply to a year where you have 6 picks. You don't have as much flexibility. You don't have as much wiggle room. You can take maybe some more chances when you have multiple swings at the bat, when you have 12 selections, 9 selections. It's 21 picks over his first 2 years as the GM. It's a little different when then you only have 6. You don't even have a pick in every single round of the draft. So those takeaways from his first 2 years, they don't immediately fit to this year's class. And so that's why I think there is this want for them to trade down. And we have explored that possibility at length here on the show. And we have come to the place where it feels like a really good idea if you can find the right dance partner. If you can get the most out of that 16th overall pick and give yourself more swings on day 2 and more swings on day 3, then you're going to go about taking it. And I think this draft class actually sets up nicely for the Cardinals to get back to the place where they're most comfortable. They're most comfortable having a ton of picks. They're most comfortable taking multiple swings. And this draft class sets up kind of nicely for them in that regard. Story on ESPN this morning ranking the depth of the positions in the 2025 NFL draft from best to worst gave a really nice picture of how the Cardinals' needs line up really nicely with the depth. The deepest group, running back, 2 players with first-round grades, 11 that were in their Scouts Inc. Top 100. The tight end group comes in at number 2 with 2 players with first-round grades, 7 top 100 grades. But then it is all Cardinals. At 3, it's defensive tackle with 1 first-round grade, but 12 players inside the top 100. Edge, 4 players with first-round grades, 16 in the Scouts Inc. Top 100, and that's the service that ESPN uses for their draft stuff. And then guard was number 5. They don't have anybody with a first-round grade, but they have 5 in the top 100, and that is viewed as the 5th deepest group in this class. And if you think, oh, that's not enough, how about number 6 being cornerback with 3 players with first-round grades and 100 players in the Scouts Inc. Top 100. So in the top 6 of position groups, 4 of the 6 line up very nicely with what the Cardinals are trying to do, of areas of upgrade for the Cardinals. And so let's just do some math. Producer Evan, if you don't mind breaking out the calculator here for me, that would be great. We've got 12 top 100 defensive tackles. We have 16 top 100 edge players, 5 top 100 guards, 10 top 100 corners. Producer Evan, you add all of that up, what does that give us math-wise?
43 of the top 100.
43 of the top 100, nearly half of the top 100, and this is just one place's big board, but nearly half of the top 100 matches up with what the Cardinals' needs are, what we would say are their biggest needs. Now, wide receiver is 12 out of 12 on this group, because everybody needs multiple wide receivers, and there's only 13 in the top 100 compared to some other positions. But you have 43 of the top 100 being players that match up with the Cardinals' positions of need. Doesn't that smell like a nice chance to trade down and still have a bunch of those 43 players available to you if you move down from 16 to 22? If you move down from 16 to 28? If you move down from 16 to 26? I mean, just pick your spot. Pick a team in the 20s. And, oh, by the way, not only are you still going to be able to pick probably one of those 43 players, or at least maybe 38 of them will still be left when you pick, whatever the case may be. You will also have additional picks to pick from those players in later rounds. It feels like a year in which the Cardinals having limited draft capital isn't going to last very long, meaning they're going to make more than 6 picks in the 2025 NFL draft. I feel really good about that prediction. I feel really strong about the Cardinals trading down, maybe not at 16, but maybe in the second round, maybe in the third round, and making more than 6 picks later on this month. It just feels like the perfect storm for them. A perfect storm of where they pick and where the cutoff might be for first-round talent, their willingness to trade down because they have limited draft capital, and the positions of need that we think they might target matching up nicely with the deepest position groups in this draft class. You put that math equation on the board and you do the addition and the multiplication and the division, it all equals one thing. The Cardinals are going to trade down at some point in the 2025 NFL draft. They might trade down a couple of times in the 2025 NFL draft. It would not surprise me if they trade out of 16 and then they trade out again and they pick somewhere at 28 to 32. Because remember that scenario we keep outlining? Remember the scenario we outlined in hour number 1 of the show? That Chargers trade where they move down a couple of spots, but they keep themselves in striking distance of a big group of players? Well, what if they trade down from 16 to 22, like the example that was given by PFF that we talked about in hour number 1 of the show? And let's say they pick at 22 and the clock starts ticking down and they still have 4 guys on their board that they like. They could trade down another 4 spots and still get one of their 4 guys and get even more draft capital. It's all a possibility for them on draft night. And I just think the stars are aligning and the dots are very easy to connect. We said in hour number 1 that everybody is just kind of connecting the dots and they're doing it very easily because of who Monty is and the way we've seen him operate in the past. But there's even more evidence to prove that the trade down at some point is the right way to go for this team. We know they need a lot. We know that they need a lot of young talent infused into this roster. The best way to do that is to take as many swings as you can in the draft. Get as many day 1 and day 2 picks as you can. And I think the Cardinals have a first-class ticket in a lot of ways to, on draft night, with the 16th overall pick, to getting more swings at the bat. Adding more young players to this roster. They're not a loaded roster. They're not the Philadelphia Eagles. They're not the Buffalo Bills. They're not the Kansas City Chiefs, where you get drafted by those teams, it's going to be hard to make a roster. Right? The Eagles made the Super Bowl last year. There's not a lot of open position battles this summer for the Eagles. The Buffalo Bills, the way their roster's constructed, the way they've given out a lot of money, there's not a lot of open roster spots that are going to be battled in the summer. For the Cardinals, there's a lot of spots that are kind of up for grabs. Who's going to be the right guard on this team? Who's going to be the number 3 wide receiver? Who is going to add to this edge group? There's a lot of things at play for this team.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of depth, too, in this draft. And when you look at what they can get, if they just trade back and acquire 2 more picks, value-wise, it's tenfold to what you would do with just 6 picks.
You don't have to turn 6 picks into 12 picks. You don't have to turn 6 picks into 15 picks. But if you turn 6 picks into 8 picks and you net 2 additional players to your roster while also probably getting a player in the first round that you want, that's when we call draft classes home runs.
And we talk about, defensive tackle. Daniel Jeremiah has 24 defensive tackles with a first-round grade. His average per year is 12. That's a spot you need to fill, and just by getting 2 more picks, you're going to increase your chances by 20, 30%.
You have the Venn diagram overlap of depth of the class and teams' needs. And the 2 circles for the Cardinals, in a lot of ways, they just make one big circle. There's not a huge Venn diagram. The circles kind of overlap quite a bit. Not entirely. Wide receiver is a position that isn't super strong depth-wise. It's solid at the top, and maybe you lean towards doing that at 16 if you're going to, at some point, check wide receiver off the list. But the needs and the depth of the class match up in a way that you don't see happen every year. It's not every single year where your needs match up perfectly with the depth of the class, where you feel really strongly. I can say certainly on April 1st that the Cardinals are going to be able to get every position that they need in the draft because the class matches up well with them. You can't say that every year. The New York Giants pick 3rd overall. They need a quarterback. There's a really good chance they don't get to take a quarterback. There's a good chance that they're going to have to trade back into the 1st round to get Jackson Dart because they don't want to take him at number 3. Sometimes your needs and the class don't match up. For the Cardinals, it's almost a perfect fit for them this year in a lot of ways.